Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk at Elevation by Fan Day Nation. We have three hosts with us today, Addison and Grace, and today we are joined by a wonderful guest who's been instrumental in shaping the success and strategy behind women's basketball, Matt Hauer. Matt's journey has taken him from high school gyms in Fort Collins to the heart of the Big 12 basketball in Boulder. He served as Colorado's Director of Basketball Operations, climbed into the assistant coach role, and now oversees basketball strategy and roster management for the Buffs. But before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about Fan Day Nation and what they have to offer.
Your team works hard all season. Now it's time to show the world what you've built. Fan Day Nation partners with teams to create professional highlight reels, branded content, and recruiting-ready profiles for every athlete on your roster. From game day hype videos to social media campaigns, we help your program earn the visibility it deserves and open doors for your athletes. Put your team on the map. Get started at fandaynation.com.
Matt, thanks so much for joining us, and congrats on your win last night.
Yeah, we were opened up with UNM last night, and it was a great win. Good team win. Had, I think, 5 players in double digits, so it was super exciting to see get rolling for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're excited to see what's up and coming this season. You joined the Buffs in December of 2021. Take us back to that moment. What drew you to Colorado, and what were your first impressions stepping into that program?
Yeah, so starting mid-season was a huge challenge. So I think back to it, and it's just a whirlwind. I got the call from actually the person whose role I took over, Jill Mahoney, one of the best directors of ops ever to exist. I thought she was just calling just to chat and see what's up. And she called me. She said, "Hey, I want you to come down and take my job." And I was like,
plot twist.
Jill, it's December. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So, of course, when Jill, who I was really close with, and JR, one of the best head coaches ever, calls, and once you come work for him, you don't say no. And so dove in. Maybe after that started a couple weeks later. Spent a lot of time, obviously, in Boulder, just learning what I didn't know already. And my first ever trip that I planned was canceled because of COVID. And I don't even know how to cancel trips. So figuring it out as you go, one thing after another. And, but it was a really good way to learn. You just get thrown in trial by fire. You figure it out. You make a lot of mistakes, and you just don't repeat those mistakes. And from there, it's just kind of cycled into an amazing role and amazing opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah. Since you've worn several hats in this position, director of ops, assistant coach, and now you're leading the basketball strategy and roster management, how has the progression shaped your perspective of the program?
Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, college athletics in general, in the time that I've been in it, has been so fluid, and it's been fun to learn all the different roles, and quite honestly, we're making up half the roles that we're doing right now. So that's been, a really interesting shift, but it's been a blast. I love problem solving with NIL now becoming such a big piece of how we build rosters. We wanted to have a process of making sure that we're bringing in the right players that fit and that care about basketball, and that, we always joke of like, we just want normal. Like when we hire a new staff member, we've got an amazing new coach of like, oh, she's normal. And that's the biggest compliment we give to people. Just like, love what you do, be passionate about it, and those are the players that we recruit too. Right. And so, trying to figure that out with a whole new NIL landscape has been a little bit challenging, but it's been a blast, and just this whole new world where we're trying to figure out.
What has been the biggest change you've seen with NIL and building those rosters?
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of starting to get organized, I suppose. Initially, it was collectives and just a huge challenge of everybody had so many different budgets. And now that we're sort of taking it in-house with revenue sharing, and there's a lot more organization, which is nice. And then, of course, everybody's competitive. So now it's, well, how do we figure out how to get more money on top of the revenue sharing, and how do we be strategic with that? So that's probably been really like the biggest shift over the last few years, and the biggest challenges.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Chief of Basketball Strategy and Roster Management isn't a title that we hear every day in college basketball. Can you break down what that role really means in like day to day?
Yeah, so like I said, it's kind of made up. GM felt like a little bit too big time, and so we went with that. And a lot of my time is spent really diving into analytics, not only on the basketball side, but of also players that we're recruiting. So right now it's been spending a lot of time of like just watching back our film. How are we being efficient? What plays are we being the most successful in? What can we do to be better? And just how can we scheme that? And then it also, the roster management side of, that's a little bit slower right now because we're not in recruiting as heavy as we normally are. Or transfer portals thankfully closed right now. So once we get there, then it's, well, how do we value players? What metrics do we not only value on the basketball court, and then do we value just as a person?
In life, yeah.
Yeah. And so then we're figuring out our budgets. How do we want to, design that for year over year? How can we split those up? Who do we think, has to garner a lot of that money? We've used the WNBA as trying to have kind of the best model as we build things and kind of see how they're functioning within their cap space and things like that. And I think that was, a really valuable guide for us a little bit this year to be smart with our money because we don't have the most of it. So we have to design it in a way that's best for us, best for our players. And I think, with the showing last night, it feels like it went okay so far. And we'll just keep trying to build on it and keep progressing.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting. New season, there we go.
Yeah, we're here.
I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you balance that analytical side versus the player development side and kind of going back and forth?
Sure, yeah. I think it's really important to do both, obviously, of like the analytics help you sometimes identify things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily notice, and they can help guide you into decisions. And then also basketball is such a dynamic sport that exists outside of analytics. And so when you're working with people and you're working in a team, there's some things that maybe you have to give and take from the analytics so that you can have the best basketball team. We were talking a little bit earlier about, sometimes we're taking inefficient basketball shots, but, if it's the right shot for the right kid and it can help them get into a flow, maybe that's okay. And then we can talk about it later of like, how can we actually maximize our efficiency down the road? And when we get to a player development standpoint of when we're doing our individual workouts of like, what are we really attacking? Here's the shots that we expect that you're going to be able to get, within our offense. Here's where we want to make sure if you're not shooting, this percentage, in a non-life setting, it might not be a great shot for you in a game. And we're going to continue to attack that and practice that. And I think our players really buy into that stuff of they love tracking their percentages. They'll text me. We've got a system that tracks every single shot that they take in our gyms.
Ooh, that's cool.
And so I get to send them the PDFs of like, oh, we weren't really great from this position. Let's go see why we struggled on the wing over here. And we can attack that. And our other position coaches will attack those things. And so we've got a really good group. And again, our players they want to be great at what they do. And so that's been really fun too.
That's everything.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
You can only
really
teach
cool.
so much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if they're not willing to learn or willing to try, and just like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right? Like, why am I here?
I get to go sit there and just watch you try to
Yeah,
figure
they
it
gotta
out.
put in the
But
work, so
We
yeah.
definitely don't have that with this team, and it's been amazing. It's been really fun.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
really cool.
Well, basketball is evolving. We know everything's changing. NIL, transfer portal, recruiting process. We talked a little bit about NIL, but how does like the transfer portal and that recruiting like influence your like strategic approach?
Yeah, so it's really been an adjustment for us, and we've had to learn. Year over year, our rosters have turned over more than we probably would have liked, and we had to really look at ourselves and say, okay, well, how are we doing this? We can't recruit in a normal, when NIL and the transfer portal didn't exist, we can't do that anymore. And so we really had to kind of decide how are we going to adjust to this new world. We started to probably take a little bit smaller freshman classes, and just because we found it hard to keep those
Keep 'em
kids
there.
around. And so with that, try to bring in freshmen that we feel like really can make an impact and can play and can be, happy and, will develop and grow. And then from there, we've started to look into the transfer portal and kind of fill in the spots that we, the average turnover in a Power 4 roster is about 3.5, 4 for women's basketball. So we kind of know going into the year that that's kind of what we're going to be looking for. And we've stopped really being interested in taking 15 roster spots like we're allowed. There might be years where we can, but it's just hard to fill all of those spots and make everybody happy and make sure everybody's working for the right direction. So we've had to adjust in those sorts of ways, and I think it's turning out really good for us, and we're excited for the group.
So what's that golden number on the team? Like, how many people are you on?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, at the beginning, 2 months ago, it would have been 15 because we had several injuries. So, it gets you nervous every single time. So, I think it's going to fluctuate every single year. We're actually really fortunate. We've got 12 practice players, boys, that come in and practice with us, and they've been phenomenal this year. And so that's really helped us when our numbers have kind of dwindled. They've been able to fill in a little bit, and they've been a great scout team, and it was fun. All the boys were in the student section last night cheering us on.
That's
so
awesome. That's really cool.
They're a great group. So, I mean, I think probably now, and I think it's pretty common across women's basketball rosters, is we're probably about 12. I mean, we're 13 right now, but kind of living in that 12, 13 range is probably where we're going to feel comfortable for moving forward.
Yeah,
For sure.
That makes
Cool.
sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've coached at nearly every level, from high school boys and girls teams to U.S. basketball camps and now Division I women's basketball. How have those experiences helped shape your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I had an incredible mentor when I first started coaching. I was 19 when I first started coaching on the boys' side over at Fort Collins High School. Monty Alcaraz was the head coach at Fort Collins on the boys' side for a really long time. And he really set a good foundation of just like consistency and showing up and doing your job and working hard. And, I had really great relationships with the players on, obviously, the coaching level, but also at personal level, that all those guys still reach out to him however many years it's been. Even Carson Healy, he guys had on, he played for Monty and myself. I guess I'm getting old that he's now over there. And then slid over to the girls' side, and that was obviously a shift from boys to girls. And, it was figuring it out on my own. I was the head coach, and, what do I care about? And I think a lot of that foundation that Monty instilled of, be passionate about what you're doing, make sure that, people want to know that you care about them. And so really making sure that you're investing into them and that you have their best interest at heart. And then taking that into, college basketball, it's really more in the same of, players want to know that you have their back and that you care about them, and that, first and foremost, if they don't trust you, they're not going to learn from you. And so building that trust, spending that time, being consistent, I think is kind of the big piece, and having fun with it too, because basketball is an amazing sport that we all love and that, we can have fun with. And so just being around and being there for them is a huge piece to that.
Yeah, because coaching is just big for girls in general. If the coach doesn't like the sport, then they're not going to follow that lead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
What's the biggest difference you've seen coaching boys versus girls?
Yeah, people always ask that.
It's a loaded question.
It's really not, it's not super, super different. Women's basketball, it's less stinky, which is nice. Every time we coach the boys, it's like, oh, the boys were in the film room. And it's like, so, that's
Guys, go shower right now.
Yeah,
Hit the showers, boys.
Exactly. So, I think maybe the biggest shift is, I think women try harder. It's like they want to be coached. They want to know more things. They want to know why. They want to understand more. And boys, I think, they just kind of go out and do it. Like, it's a little bit of a different feel of I'll go just figure it out, sometimes. And that's not to say that's all men and all women, but that definitely feels like it was a big shift, especially at the high school level of, when high school boys, they just know everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Emotions are high both
Yeah,
sides.
exactly. Moving over to the girls' side, it was a lot of the, understanding, but I think they really dive in and try to execute what, suggests, whereas boys, I think, try to figure it out a little bit more on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. Well, you've got an interesting background for being a college coach. You got a social studies education and bachelor's degree from CSU, actually, and also a master's in educational leadership and administration. How did your experience as a teacher shape the way you coach and manage your team?
Yeah, I think teaching, obviously, teaching and coaching is very similar.
Right.
And I loved being a teacher. I got to, teach a lot of interesting things and had a lot of amazing students, and a lot of them were basketball players, but a lot of them weren't. And I think it just, again, kind of going back to that, kids don't want to learn from you if they don't trust you. And it doesn't really matter how much you know and you could pour into them if they don't really think that you're going to have their back. And so that was a big piece of, how do I build relationships? Sometimes it had to be super quick to kind of, social studies is not everybody's thing. So, you really have to and I think that comes from just being passionate about what you're doing. If they see you care about what you're doing, they see you care about them, that's kind of a combination into, success and learning. And I think the same thing is, like we said, towards basketball. They see you're passionate about basketball. They see you care. They see you're investing all of the time you can to be the best that you can be. And then you build that relationship and you can pour that, into them, or pour that, do it with them. It's a collaborative effort. I think that's, the avenue to success long term. And so I think it's been working okay.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
How hard was it to leave teaching?
Yeah, it was really hard. I loved teaching, and it kind of, just the way things align, it worked out actually incredibly well. The coaching was also probably maybe the harder part to leave. I had 4 seniors that had all played varsity as a freshman. So for 4 years, they had to spend a lot of time with me, and so it was hard, but also it was like, well, you guys know everything. So
Right.
We had a great assistant coaching staff that took over, and it was kind of just like, they've got it. Just let them roll, and they'll be okay. And they finished strong and did a good job. And then on the teaching side, just randomly, we were hiring for a different social studies position, and we had 2 really great candidates. And so once I got the call and knew I was for sure getting the job at CU, it went into our principal and was like, hey, by the way, you need to hire both.
All or nothing.
Yeah. Because I got to go. And so that worked out well for our staff, and I didn't want to leave anybody hanging and make sure they were taken care of. So just really lucky the way it all aligned there. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's crazy how things happen, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the odds of that happening are so
Yeah, right.
slim.
So you're gonna be a social studies teacher, and now you're a D1 women's coach.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's
amazing.
crazy.
You've always really focused on player development, whether it was in club basketball, high school, or now in Boulder. What is the most rewarding part about putting these athletes through the program and watching them grow?
Yeah, I think you kind of see when they get it is rewarding. And you can see they've worked on something. I just had a situation, maybe it was Monday or Tuesday, and of course I missed it, but I don't know what I was doing. We were working on pocket passes with one of our players in the morning, and she was just building how can she read ball screen decisions and things like that. And so that morning we were attacking it. She threw a pocket pass, executed it perfectly. I missed it, and she came up. Matt, did you see it? I was like, oh no. I was
Do
like,
it again.
yeah, I was like, I'll go watch
Do
the
it
film.
again. Do it again.
So those sorts of things, when they work so hard at something and then start to figure it out, it is super selfishly rewarding.
Right.
Yeah, we got to do that together. You did it, but I was kind of there.
Right.
And
You
so
let
that's super fun. And it was kind of the same way with teaching too, of watching the light switch flip on, of oh, I get that. And so that those kind of fall in line, and that's a big piece of just watching their joy doing something that's brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
It has been super fulfilling, of the successes and the challenges, and those challenges and hurdles make those successes so much more exciting and fulfilling, and watching them go through it, the ups and downs, and trying to help make sure the downs aren't so far down that we can't get up. So that's all really fun and fulfilling.
I bet. Dopamine rush.
Yeah,
For sure.
Exactly.
for sure.
That's really cool.
Before CU, you led the Fort Collins High School girls varsity team and even helped develop some of the top players in Northern Colorado. What was that experience like, and how did it prepare you for the college game?
Yeah, it's being a head coach, even at the high school, it really helped, especially in the initial director of ops role. But you just have to do a little bit of everything, and so you are the director of ops. You got to make sure things are showing up on time. You got to do all the equipment. You've got to do the budgets, and then the basketball side of, I had a really great assistant coaching staff, but it was me designing the offense, the defense, and of course they were giving input and helping, but you just have to do everything
do it all
to an
in a
extent. And
sense.
so I think that's really, prepared me well when I moved to Colorado of, the director of ops role is a little bit of doing everything. You're making sure everything's showing up on time. It's, primarily an off-court role of planning travel and making sure that people are getting to the right places and the calendars are correct and the budget's, not going crazy. And so that foundation and then the new world of NIL and figuring it out, it was like, okay, well, let's just figure it out. And I can do this too. And then the assistant coaching role kind of opened up. And so then it's like, all right, I'll do that too. And so, they've started to take a few of the other, director of ops things off my plate, which has been helpful so I can kind of dive into the other stuff more. Mm-hmm. But that foundation of you just got to do it has been really helpful to this role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So another coaching thing you did was you coached the 38 U17 elite team. So what did that club experience teach you about talent development, recruiting that's different from, the high school or college aspect of it?
Yeah, State 38 was, and I never got into club too much. I did a little bit when I first started on the boys' side, and then that really came about because of COVID. We couldn't coach, and clubs were kind of the only thing sort of operating in the fall. And I had a really close friend, Will Bell. He's a Colorado Springs guy and now lives up in Fort Collins area that runs the organization. And so, we've always stayed in touch. It's like, hey, I've got this team to coach and you can't coach right now. So I was like,
So here you go.
yeah, sounds
something.
Yeah, sounds great. So, it was really fun because I had one of my own high school players on that team and then high school players from other teams in the city. So being able to work with different players and coaching, it's a slightly different style. You're playing different. Right. You're playing more often, 3 games a day sometimes. Mm-hmm. Really was fun. And then State 38 did a really great job of player development. And the way they structure it was fun. And so, really you want players that are playing in club basketball want to be college players. Mm-hmm. And so they had a staff of a lot of former college players and being able to learn from them because I didn't play college basketball and see how they set things up and wanted to do things was super valuable. And, it was a weird time, but it was super fun playing with, well, it wasn't fun for them playing with masks and
right.
figuring it out.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
it
used
was a
to
weird
not
time.
breathe.
Under that.
I remember
Yeah.
I would run down the court and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm pulling down. And the refs are like, you pull it back up, pull it back up.
Crazy times. But,
Crazy times.
When things like that happen, you just got to
do?
figure it out and do the best you can with what you have. And so that was a super fun avenue and something different to kind of find some time while I couldn't coach at the high school.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Heck yeah. I bet you went a little crazy there during COVID. Just
Yeah, it was.
being bored, not being able to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, we were thinking about it. We had a map. I mapped every single outdoor court in Fort Collins.
Oh no.
So, and then I sent it to them so that they could go, and we created this little challenge of, if you did these drills and recorded it, you could get
fun.
points.
Oh, that's cool.
I was doing zooms out of the back of my car, doing ball handling, and people would zoom in, and I don't know. We just you just gotta kind of try things and see what happens. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were joking about that not too long ago. My wife, who doesn't play basketball, she goes, I remember trying to do those drills with you. It was just like, yeah.
She got roped.
She's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
She gets roped into a lot of things with basketball. So she's a champ.
She's gonna be a professional by the end.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, talking about CU women's basketball more, you guys have had exponential growth in the last couple of years, making it to the Sweet 16 in 2024, and then having them be a part of the rise of women's basketball. What does that mean to you as their coach and their mentor?
Yeah, it's, I'm a very small part of that. We have an amazing head coach in JR and amazing staff and, again, amazingly talented players of, those back-to-back Sweet 16s with Jalen Sherrod, who's now in the WNBA, and Maya Hollingshed. And I mean, there's so many to name of that are true Colorado greats now. And being a small part of that, I think I was just doing a lot of hanging out, and they were doing a lot of the hard work. So it was exciting, but also just to see sort of the growth of women's basketball. We got knocked out of the tournament by Caitlin Clark twice, which is a little irritating, but just to kind of
But also you can't be mad at Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
You're like,
thank
all right.
you for her, right?
You're like, all right.
Yeah.
She's a pretty good basketball player. Some might say really great, but it's tough when it's going against you.
Oh, right, yeah.
In some of the most important basketball games that you're probably going to coach in. Sweet 16s.
Yes.
I was lucky to kind of just ride the bandwagon of what they build, but Sweet 16s don't just happen. And so to be a part of that has been huge, and to just watch the growth of the women's game, on the foundation of so many greats has been so exciting, and hopefully it just continues to up and up like it should.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Awesome. How would you describe the culture J.R. Payne has built around Boulder and the coaching staff?
J.R. Payne is, I don't know why I used her full name, but J.R., she's amazing. I mean, she really is. She's kind, she's compassionate, she cares, she's also passionate. She just is such a great model of, who a great leader should be. And, she always talks about we're going to be the toughest, most disciplined, hardest working team in the country. And part of that is because she's probably the toughest, most disciplined, hardest working coach in the country. And so it's been so, I've been so fortunate to be able to learn so much from her. And, I just really lucked out with mentors in my life and coaching. And, she cares so deeply about our players. And, we've gotten that feedback from some of our transfers of, wait a second, Jay's going to do that? They'll call her, Jay's going to do that? And it's like, yeah, she will do that for you. She was like 4 months ago looking at apartments, doing apartment searches for one of our players.
Aww.
It was like touring on FaceTime.
Goes
and
beyond
it's just
basketball.
like that's not a head coach thing. That's probably my job. JR's but she just does it. She wants to make sure that they have a home and that they feel comfortable. And so, that's just who she is. And then, of course, the basketball side, she, is brilliant. She, designs incredible offenses. Her husband, Toriano, designs great defenses. And so, they're a good partnership and kind of an interesting dynamic sometimes. But, they figure it out. And, the other assistant coaches we have, JoJo, TK, and Shelly, are all, again, they're normal. So it's nice to, it just really works.
That's cool.
The normal coaching stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
24.
Yeah. After your guys' big win last night, opening game, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the season?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we, obviously we want to compete in the Big 12 tournament and get a Big 12, conference championship. And before that, obviously, we've got a lot of tough non-conference games. We're heading out to Louisville here in a few days, which will be a great kind of battle and challenge and really see where we're at. And so, I think, we had a really great start and foundation. Like we said, we had a lot of players contribute. We had a lot of players play. And so we're just excited to kind of watch that build. Kind of watch them come into their own, because we have 10 new players. They're still sort of figuring it all out together. And so, we'll see as they gel and as they, continue to play. And I think the sky's the limit for this group. I think they can really, make a run in the tournament. And, should we, make it, and just because of their effort and how much they care and how hard they work.
That's a big part of it, is making sure you get along with your team and you guys vibe and everyone's, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And that really helps build it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And this group's super connected. They, they don't, not every team every single year, they get along on the court, but maybe they're not best friends off the court. And that's unrealistic to assume everybody would be that way.
Right.
But this group really is connected, and they hang out and they have fun with each other. And so it's really been fun to see too, because you spend so much time together. So it's helpful when you do really, really, truly get along. So that's been fun to see.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
As someone who's transitioned from operations to coaching, what advice would you give to others looking to break into the college world of coaching?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, as we get this question a lot, is how can you add value into various programs? And network obviously is a huge piece, and building that network and making sure that people know you, because when jobs come up, sometimes they just call you and you get a job.
It's true. And you're no longer a social studies teacher.
Yeah, exactly. And so I the network obviously is a big piece, but those people in your network also want to know and trust that you're going to do it well, because they're putting their, reputation on the line a little bit, vouching for you and, letting you have an opportunity at whatever job. So I think, whatever you do is always trying to add value to, the program. And, how you can do that in a number of different ways of just like connecting and reaching out. And, you know, my dorky thing was I would watch film on teams and kind of like send them some things. And I created this random coaching practice planning tool that got ridiculously popular, more popular than it ever should have, but it created a huge network. And now,
Tell us about it.
oh gosh. So,
Sum up.
yeah, it's like a practice planner that calculates how long you're working on different drills and skills.
Cool.
And so you practice plan throughout the year, you know, oh, we've been spending 30% of our time on shooting and 50% on, you know, so on and so forth. And again, bored during COVID and it blew up. I had to like turn my
Awesome.
phone off for a day. It
Wow.
was bizarre. But now I'm like, I'll go places and they're like, oh, are you the practice planner guy? And I'm like, oh, gosh.
That's so cool.
Wait, that's awesome.
Yeah, spreadsheets, you know? So,
Numbers.
but that sort of thing allowed, you know, now people started to trust me. They started to know who I was. And so that kind of helped me into that operations role of, you know, Jill knew about the spreadsheets. And so then it's like, oh, trust this guy. I think he can figure it out. And luckily I figured it out. And
Boom.
then again, it's just, well, where can I add value? I can, you know, offer suggestions in offense and started to gain trust on JR on offense. And then, you know, Jalen Sherrod, I owe a lot to her for whatever reason. She decided she liked me a lot. And we would spend a lot of time in the off season when we were down a coach. I got to, you know, work out with her and she wanted to work out with me a lot. And so that gave me legitimacy. And so then it kind of cycled up from there and continued to just get some random roles.
That's awesome.
That's very
awesome.
cool.
And for our last question, we're going to ask, how do you want to be remembered?
Our favorites.
Favorite.
I think probably want to be remembered as, you know, somebody who cared and who worked hard and had our players back and had, you know, our teams back, whether it's coaches, you know, in life, just wanted to be reliable and care and have that foundation of if you needed something that I'd have your back for it.
Back to that trust.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, that's a good question. So it's just Matt Hauer, at Matt Hauer on Twitter, and then I think on Instagram I'm Coach Matt Hauer.
Okay.
So you can find me there, and I think it's all on the CU website as well. You can find me there. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks so
Heck yeah.
much. We look forward to watching CU women's basketball this season, and good luck to you and your team.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.